Hey guys, Christy here with Little Roots Ranch, and today I'm going to talk about why my garden, my garden looks like this and like this. Don't know if you can see all this stuff. Believe it or not, this is intentional. I know that a lot of people like to do fall bed cleanup, but personally, I don't. And there's a reason for that. I think people come over and they look at my garden, they're like, Christy, you didn't do any cleanup or whatever. And I tell them, I was like, well, because I'm busy protecting everybody, my little ecosystem that I have here. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, let me tell you. So inside the garden, there's 3 different components here, or maybe 4. I don't know. I guess I should have thought it out. But there's several components going on here. One, like this plant, all of these hollow stems. Let's see here. Break this off. I don't know if you can see, but that's a hollow stem. And so what this is great for is for native bees and little insects to overwinter in. Like they'll actually crawl in there, and you can usually tell because there'll be like mud at the tip, and so they'll overwinter in that. And I know when people hear insects, they're like, oh, I don't want insects. But it's important to remember that 95% of insects are either beneficial or benign, meaning that, you know, your predatory wasps and your lacewings and your ladybugs and all of those things, plus your pollinators, your bees and all that stuff, a lot of them like to sleep in here and actually will make their cocoons or their little like bee pods or whatever, and for bees that don't live in a colony, and all throughout summer. And so you want to leave that for them. Also, in the ground, a lot of times, like the burrowing bees will just burrow a little into the soil. And so you want to be careful. Like I do put down mulch, fresh compost a little bit each year. And so I want to wait because then it might make it hard for them to go ahead and come on out of there. And so, and then, oh, also leaf litter. I don't know if you can see me. Woo! Leaf litter, say that 3 times fast. Leaf litter is where a lot of insects also hibernate and spend, you know, they overwinter. And again, generally, you know, like beneficial insects. And so in the spring, they come out and they're ready to go, and you get a jump start, which is amazing because when you're growing on scale, insect pressure is real, you know. And so I utilize, there's sprays, of course, which I don't utilize, but there are beneficial insects or predatory insects that help me out, you know, because I've got a large garden. There's a lot here for insects to eat. I don't blame them. I like eating from my garden too. So that's the reason for leaving the non-soil reason. So that's as far as insects, for leaving everything like it is. The other reason is that the roots of all of these plants, even though they're dead, but even if they're living, they actually feed the soil microbes and the fungi and bacteria and other organisms. And that's all happening down under the soil. And so those are being fed. And so they're ready and waiting for when I start putting, you know, new plants in here and to nurture that relationship. If I were to cut all this out or pull it out, I never pull them. I always just cut them right at the surface soil, or sometimes cut under depending on the plant or whatever, or what time of year it is. But I leave always the root structures for to feed the microbes in the soil and the earthworms and all that stuff, because that's really important for me. And you might be wondering, well, what if the plant is diseased, for instance? Well, in that case, I would cut it out at soil level, and I would either burn it or throw it away. But the roots I still leave, because if there is infection or disease or whatever I should say in the roots, it's already in the soil. It's not going to make a difference. If anything, you're creating that optimal environment for everybody to come together and duke it out, and fingers crossed for the good guys winning. So those are some reasons. If you are wanting to, so the next question I guess would be, well, when do you clean it up? Optimally, you want to clean up your garden when you've had about five-ish days of consistently over 50-degree weather during the day. And that's not yet. That was last week, but that was abnormal. But if you are itching to get into the soil beforehand, which, you know, depending on what you're growing or whatever, I start a lot of things in the greenhouse or inside in flats or soil blocks, whatever. And so they get a little bigger. I also have high rabbit pressure. So if I put nice little green shoots out, those rabbits are going to eat them. So I want them to be larger so they stand a chance. But if you were wanting to get through and clear some of this up, what you can do is a couple options. It's kind of the same thing, but different places depending on your size. But you can cut everything at the root level and be a little extra careful with gathering everything up. And you can put it to, like I have woods like surrounding me. And so you can just put it over there for the insects to, when they wake up, you know, some insects wake up on day length and some wake up on temperature. But regardless, they can wake up over there, or if you have a compost pile to loosely set things around, and not that you'll be burying them, you know, or if you have like a smaller garden, if you take some of your stems and kind of tie them up and hang them on, say like a fence or around the garden or something like that. So when those insects, you know, beneficial insects, native pollinators, whatever, emerge, then they're right there, they're right next to your garden, and they can get right to work. And the pollinators and the beneficial insects are definitely some of the best employees we have here at the farm, garden, whatever. I also wanted to add that if you're trying to attract a lot of birds, if you're trying to attract a lot of birds to your garden or your yard or whatever it may be, having a plethora of insects is one way of doing that, because obviously the birds feed on the insects, and it's a great protein-filled snack during the cold winters and stuff like that. And there's plenty of everything to go around. So you can have insects for protecting your garden, feeding the birds, all of that stuff. Also, the birds will eat like the little seed pods or different things that you have going on. Like I have a patch of sunflowers that I always leave, and then come the winter, the birds will come and pick them all out, and it's so cute. But that's another reason to go ahead and leave everything, is you'll attract more birds, which obviously the songbirds alone, that's one of my favorite things. We have so many birds at the farm, and like I get these really cool yellow ones in the summer, and I don't even know what kind they are. At first I thought they were Schoen's parakeet, but they've come back and they like hanging out in the fire pit, which is a really interesting thing. But it's a pair, and I can tell male, female, and they're absolutely beautiful. But the birds alone are a great reason to have everything hanging around. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a whole bunch of little birds. You can hear them picking through the garden there. But yeah, so that's why my garden looking like this is really intentional. Not the few pieces of blackberry, I need to get those are monsters. But everything else is intentional, and that's a reason why. And so as it starts to warm up, or if I need like a little space, like I planted some fava beans in December, and so I cleared, I think, yeah, on the video you can see I planted them where I had tomatoes, which you can kind of see a little bit of the trellis of the old tomatoes. But I cleared out that area and then planted there, and that's kind of what I'll do. If I need to get something into a bed early, I'll just clean that area. I'll be real careful with the leaf litter and the branches, and especially anything that's hollow stemmed or whatever, and move that to the side, so that way those insects are, you know, unharmed, and they can come and help me in the garden in the spring or later spring or summer, whatever. The other thing to add is that if you are like me, as you saw I was pruning the apple tree, but if you're pruning trees or perennial shrubs or whatnot, you want to have a little eye out, because there could be cocoons of different insects like hanging down from them, and depending on what you do with the wood, you might want to cut off that little piece and set it aside or whatnot. And that just helps I personally haven't seen any of the cocoons. I looked on the apple tree. I don't know if the butterflies overwinter in our climate, but if they do, or if you're in a different climate, then that's something to keep your eye out for when you're doing your winter pruning in dormancy. So that way, I mean, butterflies in the spring, right? That's amazing. But yeah, so that's my recommendation. And I don't know if you guys do the same or if you prefer fall cleanup or spring cleanup, but I definitely prefer spring cleanup. It's not as tidy looking, but it helps the insects and pollinators, and that's okay with me. Let me know if you have any questions down below and I'll try and get to those. Thank you.